Hello, everyone. Welcome to my channel. If you're new, you're extremely welcome here. You're a VIP. But also thank you to all those who have subscribed and have been commenting on my videos. It's really lovely to connect with you all. And I really do believe that anyone who comes across this channel is meant to. And if I can be of any support to you in your healing journey, well, then that's what I am here for. So the topic for today's video is limerence as a result of having a narcissistic parent. Now, this comes up a lot in my client work. Clients come to me with feelings of love addiction or limerence, as it's known, and it has the potential to take over their lives. So on the one hand, they want this love addicted feeling, this limerent feeling, but on the other hand, they're aware of its being a bit like an addiction. So we're going to explore the origins of this today. Some of these are my own thoughts and not purely academic research ones. So feel free to leave your own experience of this too. So let's start with, what is limerence exactly? Well, it was a term coined by a lady called Dorothy Tenner in her book, Love and Limerence, The Experience of Being in Love, where she interviewed over 500 people on their experience of love. And the resulting description of limerence is as follows. It's being in an involuntary state of adoration, so really key word there, and attachment to a limerent object. And it includes feelings and behaviors that range from ecstasy to despair. So it's an adoration, an attachment to another person, but it includes a roller coaster of emotions from ecstasy to moments of real despair and rejection. Now, the thing about limerence is this adoration of the other object is also in search of reciprocated adoration. So it's all about the yearning to adore and be adored in return. So already, I'm sure you can hear echoes here of the little baby yearning for attachment to its mother figure whom it adores, but perhaps not experiencing consistent adoration and attachment in return. And so we have there the foundations then of anxious attachment, which is a key component to experiencing limerence in adult relationships. So it's all about adoring someone and having moments where you do feel adored, an ecstasy of, oh my goodness, they do adore me, a euphoria, and having that sort of reciprocated feeling, oh my goodness, and they do reciprocate it. They do have the same feelings as I do. However, then it also has moments of uncertainty, of deep despair, of feeling it's not reciprocated. And it needs this uncertainty in order to create the highs. So like with any addiction, you can't just be on crack cocaine all the time because you need to you need to come off of it to have that, the highs and lows. Like the highs get higher, you know, the more that you've withdrawn from it, the more potent the high is. That's what I'm trying to say here. And it's the same with limerence. Part of it is this uncertainty that fuels the craving for those hits of euphoria, those hits of reciprocated, perceived reciprocated love. Now, as we've hinted to already, this is a result, limerence is a result of attachment trauma. And I'm sure what you're hearing here is that it sounds remarkably like the trauma bond, which happens in narcissistic relationships, where the narcissistic parent or partner will create at the start of the relationship a sense of being adored, and they will seduce you into that feeling of being adored by them and you adoring them back. However, that is not something that lasts, as you know. It is soon followed by, at first, small moments of discard, but then longer moments of extended discard, extended despair. And that's what creates the trauma bond, the addiction to the narcissistic person in your life. So if you had a narcissistic parent, you were most likely at times uncertain of their love for you. You may have felt loved generally overall, but you may also have felt dropped at other times too. And the moments when you felt love overall was when you were meeting the needs of the parent, when you were pleasing to them, when you were meeting their emotional needs, when you kept yourself small and your needs held back so that you weren't a burden on them in any way. And the times you were dropped were when you were displeasing to them, rather. Oftentimes, perhaps, where you had big emotional needs yourself, where you were perhaps a bit demanding for what you needed. Those were the times when you may have experienced being dropped by them, of being rejected. So in that early relationship with your parent, there were moments of feeling adored by your parent, as you adored them, as you do as a child. You adore your parent, you adore your mother. You only want to be pleasing to her. And your desire is to feel that adoration back. But when it doesn't come back, it sets up this craving. It sets up this need for highs and lows, rather than an even keel sense of being loved and adored. It sets up this sort of opposite experience where you're kind of either one or you're the opposite. And of course, that has effects on us physiologically and emotionally. Excuse my phone being on there, if you can hear that. So these moments of adoration and then being dropped will have caused a stress response in you, a CPTSD, fight or flight response, where the parent is both the cause of your distress, the stress response, but also is the only one who holds the solution to it lessening, to reinstating calm and peace. So, in other words, your narcissistic parent caused moments of doubt in you about their love which was terrifying for you as a child. Times where you were punished or given the silent treatment, or even a dirty look, or raised eyebrows, or slamming of doors, or cursing, or criticizing you, or triangulating you with others, or not protecting you. All these sorts of things will have caused this sort of doubting their love for you. And the only solution was to get back the euphoria of their idealization of you, of their adoration of you, the moments where you were meeting their needs, where you were pleasing to them, where you were small and there to meet what they needed. So you were in search of the feeling of being loved, which became like a high feeling, as it was the only solution to your emotional distress. And it was in the parents, in the other's hands, power to restore it to you or not, the reciprocation. Now, it's interesting what happens in the body in terms of the hormones during limerency, if you're experiencing limerency. So what happens is, when you're in those stress times of uncertainty, of despair, of punishment, rejection, as a child, this is also as in adulthood, the body releases cortisol, as you know, high amounts of cortisol to the danger, the perceived danger. Everything's tense, everything's on red alert. Now, in order to reduce what brings the cortisol down is a release of oxytocin. Now, oxytocin is the love drug. It's the attachment hormone, as it's called, the love hormone. So in order to reduce the stress, we need the oxytocin to come up, which mimics the trauma bond. So both, interesting fact here though, about both these hormones, both cortisol and oxytocin, they have an effect on us that causes us to numb the pain. Let me just check my notes here. To numb our senses and to dull the pain. So part of this limerency, this limerent state that many of us experience who come from childhood trauma and narcissistic parents, is that we are prone to choosing to numb the senses and dull the pain. In other words, it's about going into denial of the reality of the painful situation. So when you experience limerent feelings for another person in adulthood, maybe you find yourself yearning for this particular person. It could be anyone. You might feel these feelings of love for anyone. In my view, this has nothing to do with sexuality. This is about the yearning for attachment and connection. It's about an addiction, and an addiction is attachment, is an attachment wound. That's where it comes from. So these feelings of limerency, of yearning, of love, of adoration for another person, and the desire to have that reciprocated, and then the limerent thoughts that result. So even when you're not with the person, you find yourself going over and over, playing things over and over again, particularly moments of perceived reciprocation, because you can see here, even when they're not with you, you are attempting to balance, emotionally soothe yourself through the limerent memories, the limerent thoughts. You're trying to bring up the oxytocin to counteract the cortisol, which has been the result of seeing danger in this relationship, of seeing the uncertainty. And in order to counteract that, we go into denial. We focus in on the love parts, the perceived loved parts, the perceived reciprocated adoration. But as you know, in narcissistic relationships, the love is given as a means of manipulation. It's not real love. It requires one person to diminish, and in order that the other can have their needs met, can be the dominant one, can have the power in the relationship, just as it was in childhood. So be aware of limerent feelings that you may have for anybody else in your life. You know, try to let go of some of the shame of it too, because it's completely understandable. And you may want to ask yourself, okay, who does this remind me of? You know, what does this relationship remind me of? How does it, the feelings I have in this relationship, how does this relate to a previous one in childhood? And begin to, if you can, to start seeing, okay, there are different types of relationship on offer. There are ones that cause these huge spikes of distress in me and feelings of ecstasy. But is that really what I want? Or am I in search of something less exciting, but more enduring, more nourishing, more safe, more calm? Because the excitement of that one always ends in despair. It always ends, actually. You have to reach a rock bottom, as with any addiction. And that's what that's offering you. So if you can, begin to step away from uncertain relationships and ask yourself, who in my life do I feel certain with? Where is their calm? Where is their peace? And begin to surround yourself more with those types of people. And of course, if you need help with this, I am here, and I'd be delighted to help you work through some of this. It's really at the heart of things, in my view. And I'm going to do another video later on this week of, many of my clients have come to me with a bit of shame about experiencing limerent feelings for friends, same-sex limerent feelings. And I'd like to explore that a little bit more so that we can understand it for what it is. And then we're able to begin taking the steps needed to free you from searching out there in another to replay the trauma from childhood. Okay, everybody, I hope that was helpful. Please leave your comments. Check out my website as well if you'd like to work with me. There's various options. It's all very reasonable, so don't be afraid if finances are a problem. I've kept it at the bare minimum to make it accessible to as many as possible. But of course, the busier I get, the chances are I will need to raise those prices. So don't delay. All right, take care, everybody, and I shall see you very soon. Take care.